Are you ready to dive into one of the most dangerous cave rescues ever attempted? A group of 8 explorers going on a cave adventure. They crawled through tight spaces, climbed over rocks, and ventured deeper and deeper into a maze of hidden tunnels. But then, something terrible happened. One explorer got stuck, and his life was in danger. How would they survive? And what would rescuers do to save them? Wayne Cave, a hidden gem beneath Monroe County, Indiana, has a fascinating history and remarkable geology that draws cavers in from all over. This cave was first described in print by William J. Wayne in 1950 in the Proceedings of the Indiana Academy of Science. He detailed the original part of the cave, which was known to be a large walking passage. However, in 1955, Purdue cavers made an exciting discovery. They found a crawlway that opened into a larger, previously unexplored section of Wayne Cave. Around the same time, the Indiana University, or IU Splunking Club, added even more to the map, uncovering what is now known as the IU section. During this period, cavers established camps within the cave itself, including Camps 2 and 3, marking the start of extended exploration trips underground. For decades, Wayne Cave remained accessible to anyone willing to explore it. This open access contributed to its popularity, particularly since it was close to Bloomington, Indiana. However, unmanaged access led to significant impacts on the cave. Visitors left behind graffiti, trash, spent carbide from old lamps, and even signs of vandalism. Over time, efforts were made to protect Wayne Cave. Today, the cave entrance is secured by a locked steel gate, requires permission for entry, and is managed under the Indiana Karst Conservancy, or IKC, to ensure that it remains pristine. Wayne Cave offers over 4¼ miles of surveyed passage, making it Indiana's 9th longest cave system. Its entrance, a narrow vertical hole, leads into a slippery descent where a hand line is recommended. This section, known as Old Wayne Cave, features a large walkable passage. However, more adventurous cavers often venture into the famous 1,250-foot crawlway. This passage requires belly crawling through tight spots, including 2 squeezes known as the Why the Hell squeeze and stalactite squeeze. The crawlway ends at Camp 1, where 1950s cavers once camped. From there, a canyon passage leads to Camp 2, marked by a unique 8-foot natural bridge. Here, other routes diverge into different areas, like Halectite Holler and the American Bottoms. The IU Discovery and Camp 3 continue further, connecting with the 1,500-foot Gypsum Passage. This spectacular canyon features delicate formations extending to the North Passage, which holds shorter side passages to explore. Near Camp 1, cavers can also reach the RPI Discovery, a dome area with 40-foot-high formations and rooms with unusual features, like the moon milk that flows down one dome. Today, Wayne Cave is open to organized and responsible caving groups under the management of the Indiana Karst Conservancy. All visitors must sign a liability release and follow surface and subsurface rules to protect the cave's fragile ecosystem. Special access for research or filming requires extra approval from the IKC Executive Board. Wayne Cave is considered one of Indiana's classic caves, known for its beauty, history, and geological formations. It also houses unique wildlife, including the northern cave crayfish and other tiny creatures that live in sinkholes across the property. For those interested in cave exploration, Wayne Cave offers a challenging yet rewarding adventure into one of Indiana's most captivating underground landscapes. On a sunny Saturday afternoon in October of 1984, excitement filled the air as a group of passionate cavers prepared for an adventurous exploration of Wayne Cave in Monroe County, Indiana. This cave, known for its extensive passages and challenging routes, had long been a favorite among splunkers seeking to uncover its hidden secrets. Among the 8 members of this particular group was Louis Werner, a dedicated professor from Illinois Wesleyan University, and 7 enthusiastic students eager to experience the thrill of cave exploration. Weeks before their planned expedition, the group meticulously prepared for their journey into Wayne Cave. They gathered essential gear, including helmets with powerful lights, sturdy ropes, climbing harnesses, and protective clothing. Each member knew the importance of safety in such a demanding environment. They studied maps of the cave, familiarizing themselves with its layout and potential hazards. The team also reviewed emergency procedures, ensuring that everyone understood what to do in case of an accident. The excitement among the group was palpable. For many of the students, this was their first major caving expedition, and they were eager to prove their skills and discover new passages. Louis Werner, with his extensive experience, took on the role of leader, guiding the group with confidence and expertise. His knowledge of cave systems and his ability to remain calm under pressure were invaluable assets for the team. Early on Saturday, October 13th, the group arrived at the entrance of Wayne Cave. The small vertical hole that served as the cave's gateway stood ominously against the backdrop of the Indiana landscape. With a final check of their equipment, the team began their descent. The entrance drop was a steep 15 feet, requiring careful maneuvering to avoid slipping. Equipped with ropes and harnesses, they made their way down, their headlamp beams piercing the darkness below. As they descended, the group moved through 300 feet of walking passage, marveling at the cave's natural beauty. Stalactites and stalagmites adorned the walls and ceilings, creating stunning geological formations. The air was cool and damp, and the sounds of dripping water echoed through the vast chambers. The students followed closely behind Werner, absorbing every detail and eagerly pointing out interesting features. The deeper the group went, the more complex and expansive Wayne Cave became. After crawling through a long, narrow passage, they faced a challenging 1,200-foot belly crawl. This tight, winding route tested their strength and teamwork. The students helped each other through narrow squeezes, their excitement never fading despite the physical effort. Each new passage revealed more of the cave's hidden beauty, fueling their desire to explore further. The journey continued through 600 feet of passage that had different types of paths, like stooping, crawling, and squeezing. The group moved steadily, getting more excited as they approached Breakdown Mountain, a difficult section known for its complex paths and potential dangers. Werner encouraged the team, reminding them to stay focused and help each other. At around 4 p.m., just as the group was almost finished with Breakdown Mountain and looking for a way out, something terrible happened. Louis Werner, the experienced leader, slipped and fell about 25 feet. The fall seriously injured his face, arm, and leg. Everyone in the group panicked for a moment when they realized how serious the situation was. Werner's fall was a reminder of the dangers of cave exploration, where even the most experienced cavers can get hurt. Despite the shock, the group quickly sprang into action. 4 of the students knew that they had to seek help immediately. Guided by instinct and determination, they began their arduous journey back through the cave to find assistance. Their hearts raced as they navigated the same challenging passages that they explored earlier, now with a sense of urgency that they hadn't felt before. As the students went back the way they came, they met 2 local cavers who were also exploring Wayne Cave that day. These experienced cavers recognized that something bad had happened and immediately offered to help. Understanding the need for quick action, the 4 students explained the situation, and together with the 2 local cavers, they left the cave to get help. Meanwhile, back inside Wayne Cave, Werner was fighting to stay conscious. His injuries were severe, and he struggled to keep warm in the cool, damp environment. The group's journey to find help was taking longer than expected, and as time passed, Werner's condition became more critical. At 5:40 p.m., the group finally reached the surface and called Bloomington Hospital for emergency assistance. The news of the accident spread quickly, and multiple agencies were notified. Ambulances and fire department personnel rushed to the scene, preparing for a complex rescue operation inside the cave. By 6 p.m., a fireman, an EMT, and 2 local cavers entered Wayne Cave equipped with an EMT tech kit and an oxygen tank. Their mission was to reach Werner and provide immediate medical attention. The team navigated the cave, moving cautiously through the dark and narrow passages. They aimed to reach the accident site by 7:30 p.m., hoping to stabilize Werner before more help could arrive. However, when they arrived at the top of the 40-foot drop where Werner had fallen, they were faced with a daunting challenge. The victim was at the bottom, and the rescuers were unaware of a lower-level route that might lead directly to him. The distance and the depth of the cave made it difficult to reach Werner quickly. The team decided to follow emergency protocol, instructing the other cavers to monitor Werner's vital signs and keep him warm by maintaining close body contact. By 6:30 p.m., the situation had become more serious, and more cavers were called in to help. Soon, 8 more cavers entered Wayne Cave, bringing ropes and climbing gear needed for the rescue. Others started putting phone lines into the cave to keep communication between the surface and the trapped cavers. These efforts were important for organizing the rescue operation and also making sure that everyone knew what was happening. Dr. Noel Sloan, a key medical professional, was notified about Werner's condition. He provided specific instructions, requesting a KED backboard and either a scoop or split basket litter to assist in the safe evacuation of the injured caver. These vital medical supplies were obtained by 7 p.m., ready to be used once the team reached Werner. With many local cavers out of town, the rescue effort extended beyond the immediate area. An Indianapolis call-out was initiated, and cavers from Louisville were put on standby, prepared to join the mission if needed. The teamwork and collaboration among the caving community were essential in managing such a complex and dangerous situation. By 9 p.m., Dr. Sloan had entered the cave, joining the rigging team. They worked together to reach the top of the drop, coordinating their movements carefully to avoid any further accidents. At 9:20 p.m., Sloan arrived simultaneously with the rigging team, and together they made their way down to Werner. Reaching Werner at 9:30 p.m., Dr. Sloan conducted an initial evaluation, and it was clear that Werner was in critical condition. His body temperature had dropped to 97.4 degrees Fahrenheit, and he was experiencing uncontrollable shivering, a sign of hypothermia. Werner had multiple facial fractures, a possible skull fracture, lacerations, and swollen eyes that were shut tightly. His blood pressure was low at 100/60, and his heart rate was slow at 46 beats per minute, but regular. The cavers suspected internal injuries and closed head injuries, but these were not immediately apparent. Despite his serious injuries, Werner was alive, but his situation was becoming dangerous. To keep him warm, the cavers put clothes under him and had another caver lie on top of him, providing warmth through close body contact. This act of friendship and quick thinking was important in stabilizing Werner's condition until more medical help could arrive. With Werner stabilized as much as possible, the rescue team began planning the best route for his evacuation. The group faced different obstacles, including tight passages and debris that had accumulated over time. Some passages needed to be enlarged or modified to create a safe path for the litter and medical equipment. The rescue team worked tirelessly, often under challenging and claustrophobic conditions. The pressure was immense, knowing that every minute counted in saving Werner's life. The team's determination and resourcefulness were evident as they navigated the complex cave system, making adjustments to their plan as needed. Back at the accident site, the medical team continued to treat Werner. They administered Ringer's IV solution to help maintain his blood pressure and address fluid loss. His wounds were carefully dressed to prevent infection, and insulation measures were taken to protect him from the cold cave environment. The KED backboard was positioned to support his broken back, and space blankets were applied to keep him warm. As the hours passed, Werner's condition showed signs of improvement. By 11 p.m., the necessary medical litter had arrived and the team was ready to begin the evacuation. The phone line that had been laid into the cave provided constant communication with the surface, allowing the rescuers to coordinate their efforts efficiently. At 11:15 p.m., with all preparations complete, the team began the delicate process of evacuating Werner. The carefully prepared route allowed the rescuers to move him without removing him from the litter, minimizing the risk of further injury. However, the path was not without its challenges. At one S-bend, additional digging was required to clear debris and create enough space for the litter to pass through. This task took another 45 minutes, testing the team's patience and perseverance. Throughout the night, the rescue team worked diligently, their movements guided by the mapped-out passages and the support of their fellow cavers. The dark, confined spaces of Wayne Cave added to the tension, creating a claustrophobic atmosphere that heightened the urgency of the mission. As the sun started to rise, the results of the team's efforts began to show. By 4:45 a.m., Werner was finally brought back to the cave entrance, exhausted but alive. The entire evacuation had taken approximately 5 hours, a testament to the dedication and skill of the rescuers. The group emerged from Wayne Cave, greeted by the first light of morning and the relief of seeing their leader safe. Werner was immediately transported to Bloomington Hospital, where he received further medical treatment. His injuries, while severe, were survivable thanks to the swift and coordinated rescue efforts. The courage and teamwork displayed by the cavers throughout the ordeal was nothing short of heroic. For Louis Werner and his students, the experience was a profound lesson in the realities of adventure. While the thrill of exploration is undeniable, the potential risks require constant vigilance and preparedness. The successful rescue operation underscored the strength of the caving community, where individuals come together to support one another in the face of adversity. The rescue operation for Professor Werner was a powerful example of teamwork, dedication, and the importance of preparedness in cave exploration. Dr. Sloan noted that the rescue's success was due to the strong cooperation among hospital personnel, firefighters, and especially the cavers who worked tirelessly to bring Werner out safely. Cavers from all over joined the effort, even putting their own weekend trips on hold to help, showing how valuable it is to build good relationships and work closely with state and local agencies. One critical lesson highlighted by Dr. Sloan was the importance of notifying someone about caving plans before entering a cave. This ensures that, in case of emergencies, help can be on its way without delay. He also emphasized that when there's a known injury in the cave, sending essential items like a litter and hypothermia prevention gear right away can be crucial for the injured person's survival. Wrapping Werner in warm gear early on helped prevent his condition from worsening due to the cold environment. The clear communication provided by the phone line also proved invaluable, preventing confusion as rescuers coordinated their efforts through the challenging 1,200-foot crawlway. The 1984 rescue in Wayne Cave is a testament to the resilience and solidarity of the caving community. Louis Werner and his group of students embarked on their adventure with excitement and anticipation, only to face a harrowing ordeal that tested their limits. Through determination, teamwork, and unwavering support, they overcame the obstacles and emerged victorious, ensuring that Werner survived the accident. In 2008, a caving couple entered New Zealand's Lucky Strike Cave. Nearly an hour into their journey, one of the cavers, a 32-year-old woman, stopped for a moment to rest near a gorgeous waterfall. Suddenly, catastrophe struck and she suffered serious injuries. Her male counterpart was forced to make the agonizing choice: stay with her until help arrives, or leave her alone in the darkness to go get help. Find out what he chose and if his partner survived in the Lucky Strike Cave rescue. Caving has been a popular hobby and tourist activity ever since the New Zealand Speleological Society was founded back in 1949. Hundreds of thousands of people travel to New Zealand to explore the caves, with the majority of visitors traveling to the Waitomo district, where hundreds of caves extend deep into the earth. The name Waitomo comes from the local Maori language, which roughly translates to water flowing through sinkholes. Waitomo tunnels, like the glowworm caves, are world famous for their populations of Arachnocampa luminisa, unique glowworms found only in New Zealand. While many of these caves are tourist attractions for non-cavers, some caves give real splunkers a run for their money. Today's story takes place in Lucky Strike Cave, considered one of the toughest caves in the country. Lucky Strike is owned privately by the Chandler family, though they do allow experienced cavers to explore its dark reaches. It takes pro cavers 3 to 4 hours to reach the back end of Lucky Strike, and that's only if they're skilled enough to make it all the way through. Recently, cavers Mike Allen and Dave Ellicott tried to explore Lucky Strike to find a connection between its end and the Junior Mudball cave system. Jane Furkett and her partner got permission to explore the cave together. They thought they had been through everything caves could throw at them, so they were prepared and physically fit for the sporty challenge. Soon after entering, the pair found a long, narrow room with hundreds of straws, needles of calcium carbonate or sulfate dripping mineral water from the ceiling. Unlike regular stalactites, these straws are hollow, which makes them far more fragile. These delicate formations take thousands of years to develop, but a gentle poke will send them crashing down to the floor. The pair crouched through the section, ducking just under the straws. Beyond this area, Lucky Strike requires cavers to spread their legs across a jagged crack and almost jump from side to side to move across the chasm. Other areas require cavers to push their feet and hands against 2 walls and move forward across the gap. This technique is known as bridging, and both of these dangerous sections are usually done without ropes, so one wrong move could easily lead to certain death. Luckily, the ground here is usually dry. The lights of their headlamps moved across glistening speleoforms, casting warped shadows along the cave walls. Haunted by the sound of dripping water and the eerie stillness of the cave, the 2 splunkers tied themselves together to traverse undulating sections of smooth stone. The rope gave them some stability and security in case one fell, and they needed to have the rope ready for the next area. The next pitch opened high above the previous area. To get across safely, they attached their gear bags to a rope and pushed it across the large chasm. Then they attached their own harnesses and zip-lined across to the other side. From there, they would abseil up the rock face. This technique is like the climbing version of rappelling. This technique uses a double rope affixed to a high point in case they slip and fall. Near the end of the cave, they'd have to dig their way through mud and rock to push through narrow tunnels to the exit. There, water levels can easily push into the face of cavers while rocks stab into their sides. The area here is very similar to the atmosphere of the nearby Junior Cave with its thick and endless tunnels of mud. However, these 2 cavers wouldn't make it that far. Beyond a large, slanted room full of boulders, Lucky Strike opens into a riverbed. To explore the end of the cave, the 2 had to walk against the flow of the water while a steady shower drips from overhead along the pathway. To overcome faster flowing sections, cavers affixed a rope along the side of the river. This connects to a thin bridge of rounded stone that leads upward. By now, the cold was getting severe. The ceaseless flow of water constricted their fingers. Their torsos went rigid as blood flow diverted to their central organs and their muscles tightened. Furkett was climbing up the side of the riverbed chamber when she reached a small ledge. She unhooked a traverse line that connected to the next section to take a break. Big mistake. Her foot gave way. The rope quickly tethered as her weight suddenly dropped into her harness. Her fingers, still numb and wet from the cold, damp chamber, couldn't grip the rope that was moving with the force of her entire body. The rope slid from her hands, whipping through the anchors as she tumbled backwards. Her legs shot up toward the ceiling, and her body instinctively bent forward, trying to grab the rope. She saw the wall blur past as her vision moved to the ceiling. As her arms hung in the air, she had no time to scream. She landed on her bottom at the floor of Lucky Strike Cave. Jane's partner called to her above the sound of the rushing water. He got to her as fast as he could. She was still conscious and groaning in pain. One of her hands instinctively went to her side, and the other covered her mouth. As the man approached her, his lamp cast a grim light onto her face. She had fallen nearly 30 feet down, and her hand was dripping with blood that looked almost orange as the yellow light reflected back into his eyes. He asked if she was all right, and she spat thick globs of blood as she tried to respond. The pain kept her from speaking full sentences. She tried to respond in gasps, and as she spoke, he saw some of her teeth had shattered. Some broken teeth were lodged in her gums, while the stumps of others leaked blood, like the hollow straws near the cave's entrance. Her head was on fire with pain, but this injury wasn't bad enough to keep her stuck here. She wasn't even focused on the blood or the pain from her teeth when she spoke. Instead, she muttered that her hip was in pain. The other caver tried to gently touch her side to see if he could pinpoint where the pain was and what was wrong. She jerked away. The amount of pain Verkit was experiencing could only mean one thing. Her hip had been shattered by the fall. The waters of Lucky Strike continued to slam into them both. Realizing the cold river would quickly overtake them, he told her that she would have to brace herself. He raised her upper body as best as he could and slowly dragged her down the river. She slipped from his grasp and he stumbled to catch her. His ankle nearly twisted from the sudden maneuver over the top of smooth, wet rocks of the riverbed. Jane nearly hyperventilated to prevent herself from screaming in pain as it seared through her whole body. Miraculously, her fellow caver pulled her from the water to a drier section of the cave, but the waters would still pose a threat. As adrenaline gripped her body, she wouldn't be able to notice her own body temperature. The adrenaline constricted her blood vessels and sped up her heart rate, making hypothermia more likely to claim her fingers and toes, and eventually her life. The other caver knelt by her side. He reached for first aid, but he fumbled with the gauze as his thoughts raced. To prevent her from freezing, he wrapped their survival blanket around her. She tried to grab it, but her bloodied hands caused it to slip from her grasp. He tried to be noble and told her he wouldn't leave her, they'd make it out together. As time passed by, her shock continued to get worse. She told him that staying here would be the death of them both. He had to go get help. Now. Hesitant to leave her behind, he took off most of his extra equipment and rushed back through the boulder chamber and across the bridging gap. He stumbled through the cave straws, not caring about anything other than saving her life. He had to get out of the cave. Once outside, he contacted emergency rescue crews. Police, search and rescue volunteers, ambulance medics from the nearby St. John, and caving experts all arrived to lend their aid. In total, 25 people came to Jane's aid. Rescuers knew Lucky Strike was a difficult cave. They needed a stretcher with a body harness to keep her secure during the long ride out of the cave. These stretchers have a solid plate to provide stability, along with long sides and flaps for the head and feet. They use colored straps so rescuers can easily connect them in the dark without mixing up the order, which would cause the stretcher to dump the injured caver to their death. The mostly enclosed stretcher would allow the team to lift Jane at angles and around tight corners. The cave entrance was a 20-minute drive from the nearby town along narrow country roads, but slowly, rescuers lined the roads as they congregated at the mouth of the cave. The rescuers split into teams and stormed into the cave. The fall happened around 2:30 p.m., and nearly 4 hours later, the first rescue crew was still trying to progress through Lucky Strike. Their progress was slowed because some of the rescuers needed to move carefully and slowly while rigging a haul system for the stretcher. The river wasn't a straight path. It had twists that got narrower over time, and it had waterfalls. Usually, cavers would use the ropes to climb around the waterfalls, but rescuers would need to make a straight pathway through the raging waters. As rescuers continued to create an exit path for Jane, another volunteer from the Auckland Westpac Rescue Helicopter Trust pushed on ahead alone into Lucky Strike. This rescuer was not only a skilled caver, but also an advanced paramedic with tons of experience in high-pressure situations. They knew that the rigging lines were vital to the saving of Jane's life, but the paramedic knew that Jane needed immediate medical attention or the ropes would be useless. The paramedic arrived at Verkit's location hours before the rest of the crew and found Jane was still alive, but her soaked clothes were causing her to lose body heat fast. Her hip injury wasn't life-threatening. Instead, Hypothermia was her greatest enemy. The paramedics stabilized her leg and torso to prevent further damage to her bones and to reduce the nerve pain that was crippling her where she lay. Meanwhile, lines were rigged high above the ground in many places to give the stretcher enough room to dip around the corners and avoid the hazards below. They loaded her into the bright orange cocoon. Her stretcher swayed perilously above the dark abyss, far further than her earlier fall. Her fate rested in the skills of the rescuers who had quickly anchored the pulleys and ropes just hours earlier. Wriggling or jerky movements in the stretcher could cause anchors to dislodge. It could cause rescuers to drop her, or sudden movements could throw them all off their pathway and send them all crashing to their own deaths. To avoid her accidentally wrecking the rescue plan, they administered painkillers to dull the brutal pain that radiated through her core. At 1:30 a.m., nearly 12 hours after her painful ordeal started, Jane was finally freed from the grasp of Lucky Strike Cave. The awaiting ambulance drove her out of the forest into the nearby town, where a helicopter took her to the Waikato Hospital. Once there, she was treated for hypothermia, and her condition stabilized. Rescuers said this was one of the most challenging rescue operations in New Zealand's history, thanks to the physically demanding nature of Lucky Strike and the complicated pathway of the rigging line. This difficult cave continues to attract cavers, but only the bravest and most adept cavers should even consider risking their lives beyond the straws, the gaps, and the waterfalls hidden deep below ground in Lucky Strike Cave. Thanks for watching. Do you know any harrowing tales of cave rescue or tragedy that you'd like to see? Tell us about your favorite stories in the comment section below. If you want to see more videos like this one, hit that like button and subscribe to catch the next spine-tingling cave rescue story.